It's me, Mario. My name's not Mario. It's actually Grant. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the party. As Brady would say, what's up, party people? And as Chris Z would say, test. What's up, Chris Z? How's it going? Welcome to the weekly live Q&A. Today's episode number something, April 22nd, 2019, not 19 something. Welcome. Glad you guys are here. So you may notice, or you may not notice, that today we're streaming in full 4K. So if you want to see all of me, click on that little gear that's in the bottom, click on 4K, or what does it call it? I think it calls it 4K, 1440p, and you can have super duper high quality. Now, this is, I don't want to call it a test, but a test. This is the first time I'm streaming it in 4K. I usually stream in 1080. So if you are having problems with that, just let me know. Let me know what's the star date. Nerd. I wish I knew enough nerddom to actually give you somewhat of a format that was correct, but I don't. But I know what it's referencing, I think. Star Trek. I should not mix up Star Trek and Star Wars or I will start a war, right? All right, so we are going to jump in. Today's format is going to be a little bit different in that this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to answer questions for a little while, and then I'm going to ask for help for a minute, and then I'm going to answer questions for a little while, and then I'm going to end the evening. So yeah, if you're watching this as a replay, this is a little bit different of a format. But while we are getting people logged in, I will go ahead and start hammering away at some of the emailed questions. We don't have that many emailed questions, which is good. I would prefer for them to come through the chat this way anyway, so YouTube can say, hey, people that watch Grant's stream really like to chat with Grant, because YouTube likes that stuff, and that will help me in the long run. But here's our email questions as we go. My bank account ain't set up like that. Oh, like a star date. What's up, Josh? Good to see you, man. While we've still got people joining on, we usually have 20, 30 live. We got 11 to 15, something like that right now. Just to let y'all know, I've got two phenomenal candidates that it looks like I will be hiring, so we should be able to get some things crunched out and hitting you guys a little bit faster coming up here. So you will be happy about that. That's going to help me a lot. My new hires are going to be specifically, partially for making sure that the goals that we need to set to help you guys are being hit. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about in the middle section of our Q&A sandwich. We will be discussing that. All right, so Rob, wonderful Rob. I like you, Rob. Thanks for your emails. I have not read your most recent email. For the record, Rob in his email says, you don't need to read this yet. I have not read it yet, but I appreciate you sending it. In your negotiation series, Chapter 9, Head, Heart, and Gut, you imply that future chapters will give us tools. Oh yeah, I forgot I was showing you guys this. Actually, Ika, if you're watching this, can you put extra gaps so that we can kind of only see one question at a time on this? That way it'll make it easier for them to tell. In your negotiation series, Chapter 9, Head, Heart, and Gut, you imply that future chapters will give us the tools for specific situations, but Chapter 9 is the last chapter. Will there be more negotiation series following? More negotiation series videos covering tools, or did I misunderstand the video? There absolutely will be more videos coming. That is actually part of why I had to let go of my staff and why I am rehiring other staff, is I am overwhelmed, frankly, with all of the stuff that I need to get done. And that is, again, part of what we will be talking about in the middle. I try to keep it real with you guys. That's part of my shtick, is that you're going to get the real me. That's the real me. Here's the thing, is that I have completely foregone what I could have had on the real estate acquisition side, because I've got a passion for training people how to do this business. My team that I had built was phenomenal for real estate acquisitions, was not phenomenal for helping me do real estate acquisitions while running an info marketing space, CreativeCashFlow.com. So that had its challenges, and that was one of the things that I had clarity around. I've got some stuff that I really want to get out to you guys. I just haven't been able to get it yet. Without being in the business, it's very, very difficult. Even before I got in, even while I'm in it, sometimes I'm like, why does this take so much time? But it takes so much time, guys, to put this stuff together for you, that I'm working a million trillion hours a week again, like I did whenever I got into the business. And I still don't have time to go buy my own houses because I'm putting all of my time into training y'all. Y'all being the greater y'all, like the world. I want this information out there. The side effect that sucks from that is that I am not hitting the mark on some of the things that I wanted to get out to you. I still have a couple of things because there's like missing references in the main seller financing module of other videos that I haven't yet even recorded. And this too, I am referencing what will be coming in the future, but again, we'll talk about that. But the short of the story is the spoiler alert is that you know, I fired some people that I cared about very genuinely and let some others go that I cared about very genuinely because it was not the right team to get the things in front of you that you need. This is part of that. So there will be more videos coming. I am making drastic moves to make that happen. Next question. Do you ever rap to anyone with less than U.S. citizenship or permanent resident alien status? The reasons not to seem obvious to me as a mortgage lender, but I wondered about the owner finance world. Yeah, you can actually almost get in more trouble by not lending to those people as you can for lending to those people. Absolutely, I lend to I-10 all the time, which means that they have a individual taxpayer ID number, which means that they are paying their taxes. They do not have a social. They do not even have residency sometimes. I think, actually, I might be wrong on that. Maybe to have an I-10 you have to have residency, but I don't think so. I-10, for my political soapbox, as I was taught on PRX, which is an awesome, what's the word I'm looking for? Public radio that's not NPR. PRX is everything but the news, public radio. It's phenomenal. Satellite radio is where it is, but it's also online, I believe. Anyway, they did a piece about I-10s, and it was really interesting to me because I never thought about it this way, but I-10 borrowers are the ultimate taxation without representation because they get taxed, they pay into the system, but they don't get to like vote or anything like that. Anyway, most of our borrowers are I-10. Most of our borrowers are not citizens. So there's nothing wrong with that. You need to make your own assessment of the risk of lending or not lending to an individual borrower. Andrew, I see pop up say, I simply wondered about them being a flight risk. You know, that's one of the reasons why our down payment is so important to us. I hope I don't graze over it. I think I talk sternly enough about the 10% down payment for everybody to really get, like, we get a minimum 10% down, like 10% minimum down. And that is a huge reason why our default rate is so low, why our flight risks are low. And that stuff will happen. I've had one borrower disappear on me. I don't know what happened to him. He just disappeared. Actually, no, I take that back. We did actually end up getting in touch with his sister. What happened to him? Did he go to, I think he went to prison. I think he went to prison. It wasn't even a flight risk. But anyway, 10% down solves a lot of those problems. So I wouldn't worry about that. We lend to non-citizens all the time. So that's kind of where it is. All right. I was working, thanks Ika, you're so good. I was working with the heirs of a house whose parents had died. Another family had moved into the house. The family forged a warranty deed and filed it with the county. This is the only forgery I've come across so far. What about you? Do you mind telling us the kinds of forgery, illegal situations you've come across and how we can identify issues when we see it? Yeah, that sucks. The forgery issue is no good. I'm going to turn this down. It looks like I might be overloading every so once in a while, ever so slightly. We'll see if that fixes it. Oh, that was probably too much. Well, maybe not. That's probably too much. Y'all tell me if it's more annoying to hear me this quietly or to have heard those overloads that I was getting. Anyway, I've only had one like kind of forged document, and it was less so that it was forged and more so that it was just a fake document. I was dealing with a property that, and this is actually highlighted in our title section when we're talking about doing title searches and that kind of thing. I was dealing with a property, that had every problem that you could have in title. One of those problems was the brother, like, straight up just filed a document called a something that wasn't real. I can't remember. Whatever. He filed a lien, and it wasn't even a real lien. But it still clouded title, which sucked, and we still had to deal with that. Andrew votes he would prefer it to be louder. I'll get one more vote if it's an agreement or disagreement, and that will let me know where to go. Okay. The votes have spoken. You'll just get a slight overload from me every once in a while. So when you've got a forged document, I mean, there's really not, you can take legal action, but it's going to have to, it's still going to cloud your title, and that sucks. You're still going to have to deal with that. And so it's going to be getting an attorney and dealing with all of that garbage that you have to deal with whenever you've got those kinds of things. And there's really not much that I can tell you to look out for or to fix that, unfortunately. It just is part of doing the business that you're going to have to look at, or that you're going to have to deal with. When you buy sub 2 pre-foreclosure, do you give sellers time to lease back? I've heard many investors against it, but I've done it and fortunately have not had any problems, but I've heard bad things. So I don't mind a smaller lease back period. I see Fred jumped in for louder is better too. Good. But my lease backs are a maximum usually of 6 weeks. And they are usually somewhere around the 2-week mark. And when I'm explaining a lease back, when I'm, I understand that reference. These go to 11. How much louder is it? It's one louder. Huh? My deedly deedly. These go to 11. I get that reference because I'm a musician and I like Spinal Tap. Anyway, so we do leasebacks. I typically like to get it for 2 weeks or less. I don't bring up the lease back like right off the bat. That is something that as the negotiation is going on, if we have to give something up, we are going to give up a lease back. And we get to sound like the hero when we're doing it because we're like, look, I'm not here to put you out on your butt. We will give you more time than the county would have given you if you didn't follow through with us, like you were talking specifically about pre-foreclosures here. The county is going to knock on your door and tell you to get out. That is not what we are going to do. I can give you some time, right? Now, part of, if you guys have watched the negotiation series, part of the importance of or one of the big parts of negotiating, I should say, is the because statement and telling people why you're saying certain things. And I will just straight up tell them that my leaseback period needs to be to where I get the house and have possession of the house by the time my first payment starts on the house. If it is something else, then I need to have a big enough equity position or a big enough discount, would be a term that they would better understand, to make that make sense for me. So just explaining to them that this is why we're doing the things that we're doing. One leaseback that I did is the reason why I have an AR-15. That was the payment for the leaseback, is I let them stay for an extra 10 days. They gave me an AR-15. We called it a day. Bingo, bango. Welcome to Texas. But long leasebacks, and especially selling back to the person you bought the property from, are not good ideas. One of the big things that you can say, like if somebody's trying to get the property sold back to them, is you can let them know, very frankly, I mean, I'm just very upfront with these guys because, and again, here's part, and I think I addressed this already in the videos that we already have for the negotiation side, but part of good negotiating is giving them in both verbal and nonverbal cues the fact that this is business for us and we're going to make a good business decision. As you guys all know, the cornerstone of our negotiating is starting off by saying, I'm in this because it makes money. I really like that I'm able to help people in the meantime, but this is what puts food on my family's table. So when they start talking about us selling the property back to them or something along those lines, I'm very blunt with them and I'm like, look, here's the thing is that you have already shown me that you're unable to afford this house, or else we wouldn't be sitting here talking. So it doesn't make business sense for me because I would have to charge more than you're already paying in order to sell this house back to you. Plus there's a piece in at least Texas law, and I don't know about nationally, but at least in Texas law, and I would assume there's something similar nationally, that can be kind of dangerous about Homestead Act and selling a property back to somebody because it can be seen as, and I forget the phrase for it, there is a phrase for it, but it's kind of can be seen as like a circumventing of laws. That's kind of a dangerous, you need to be careful of that. So don't sell a house back to somebody. Just pretty much is never a good idea. There's been one house that I did that I was willing to sell back to the seller. Spoiler alert, didn't work out. Didn't work out the month we were going to convert it into a sale for them. So here's what we did. Is we told him, and for the record, I'm not sure that I condone this. I'm just telling you what I did. It was, my partner was a lawyer. We felt strongly enough about doing it at the point this way, but again, always consult your attorney. I'm not an attorney. I need a little picture button that says I'm not an attorney. But the reason why we were willing to do that is, oh, Josh says still louder. Does it still need to be louder? I don't think so. Otherwise, I'd be overloading constantly. The reason why we did that is because, so in Mexico, you have to pay for the medical bills up front, and the wife's mother and father were sick, and they had to support them and all their ER bills and stuff like that. And I even saw the bills, saw the death certificate. Her parents died. So they no longer had that expense, right? So that was part one. Part two was they legitimately got screwed by an unscrupulous investor. And it takes a lot for me to say that somebody got screwed because I'm a huge believer in we're adults, we get to make our own decisions. If you get screwed, well, you should have read the papers, you should have, done more research most of the time, and I know that's not a very popular, that's very right-wingy of me. I'm a pretty down-the-middle kind of guy. That's very right-wingy of me, of like, look, you're responsible for what you do. I don't care how much smarter somebody, if I get taken advantage of, it's very rare that I'm ever going to blame that on somebody else other than myself for not having done the... Anyway, these guys got screwed. Well, they did. They have a kid. They got screwed. Their investor sold it to them owner financed at an 18 or a 19% interest rate and made them sign papers that said that this was for an investment, even though that they knew that they were going to be living in the property, so that the investor was able to try and get around the Dodd-Frank stuff and all that. It was just bad. Well, they were being foreclosed on by this guy. So A, they got screwed. I would like to help them for that. B, the wife's parents were sick and had all these medical bills that were no longer needing to be paid because the parents had died. And C, the husband was retired from the post office, so he had government retirement hitting his account every month. So all those things added up together. I was like, okay, if there's ever a time that I'm going to be okay with doing it, it's now. So we've rented the property back to them for a 1 year period, agreed on 2 years, a 2 year period, agreed on a price that if they got through that 2 year period, we would talk. Nothing was in writing. We were just telling them kind of, look, we'll consider it. We're going to buy the house. You are a renter. We are your landlord. There's nothing more than that. But if we choose to sell this in the future, we'll give you first right of refusal, right? Consult your attorney before doing something like this. And always understand when we're talking about stuff, there's probably a ton more paperwork that went on in the background than I'm just giving you in these 3-minute interludes. We got to the month that we were actually going through with getting them checked up by an RMLO, looking at their finances, considering them for the sale because we would like to sell it, and they stopped paying the month of. And it just, like I said, it's one of those situations where it will pretty much never work out well doing that. So I really, really, really recommend you never do it. That was the only time I've broken my rule, and it has not worked out well. Therefore, we will not do that again. There's a landlord that's been having... What's up, Jason? I'm glad to see you on here. There's a landlord that's been having issues with one of his rentals, high turnover, etc. He may be interested in selling owner finance. Any tips on dealing with tired buy and hold investors? Tip one is don't really deal with buy and hold investors that are tired. I say that semi-jokingly. Thing is, I don't like tired landlord leads. I just don't. Personally, I don't do real well with them. Now, that might be... Joe, I see your question pop up. Did you pay off the 19% loan? Yes, I actually... So we got this lead in right before the foreclosure, like a day or so. I pulled that from foreclosure by calling the lender and being like, look, bro, I'm a licensed RMLO. You screwed these guys. Do not take this to foreclosure. We will buy the loan, or pay it off. We're buying the house, because I bought it with all cash, so it paid him off. But I was like, you better not try and foreclose on these people, because that's shady as hell. And guess what? They didn't. So we bought it cash. Because we needed a little bit more time. We needed to buy time so that my lending could get lined up. Anyway, I was talking about something. Oh yeah, buying from tired landlords. I don't like it because tired landlords, if you're going to be able to buy it with cash, that's one thing. But if you're trying to buy owner finance from a tired landlord, they are investors, and their familiarity with investor lending means that you need to have 20% down. So almost all the time when I'm talking to a tired landlord, if we're talking about owner financing, they're down with it, but they want 20% of a down payment. And that, long story short, will almost always kill the deal. If your acquisition needs 20% down, it will almost always kill the deal. And so it's really tough. I do really well dealing directly with a seller. And I think my negotiation series and all of the tips that I give you are based around that. Other people may do well with buying from tired landlords. That's just not been my experience. So my tip would be, don't bring up a down payment ever. They're going to have to bring it up. Ask them if they're willing to take their equity in installments, right? Don't ask them to finance it to you, because the word finance is going to trigger things like 20% down payments, that kind of stuff. And last resort, just be ready to pay cash for it if they're willing to sell it at a discount for cash. One angle that you can try with them is saying, with the owner financing, is saying, you are selling this property because of all the crap you have to deal with from it, but you got this property because you liked the long-term cash flow. How about I buy the house from you and we work it out in such a way that you are able to continue getting cash flow that is very close to, if not as much or more than, you were actually netting from renting it by taking your equity in installments, and I can even pay you interest on that equity, right? So that's kind of a way that you can approach the owner financed pitch to somebody like that, because a lot of times you can get them because of the difference between the gross and net income that they would be receiving. A lot of times you're able to get them pretty close to what they were netting through an owner financed deal, because you're going to be selling the house with owner financing and playing arbitrage on that. Andrew asked, give the seller equity and installments as non-interest payments. That's totally up to negotiating. Totally up to negotiating. But the interest is typically going to be one of the items that makes them listen to you, especially when they're a tired landlord, because they're a little bit more financially savvy when they're a tired landlord, because they have a landlord property. So they are going to be interested by that interest. Can you do a sub 2 on any type of loan, and can you wrap any type of loan? Yes, except I haven't found a way to do, and this is from Chris Z. I haven't found a way to do it on a reverse mortgage. I don't know how to do it on a reverse mortgage. So that would be the exception that I have for now. Okay, so it looks like we've got a small lull in questions from the Google Doc here. So I'm going to take this opportunity to make this about me. Why not? This is all about me, right? So here's the thing. I could use y'all's help, and we've got a decent amount of people on the stream here, and that's good. I want to get y'all's input on this. So, I'm a little bit down. I'm sorry. My mother-in-law has cancer. I just found out today that my mom may have had another seizure, or stroke. If at the very least she's dealing with Bell's palsy right now. I just found that out a couple minutes ago, so I'm down. On top of that, and since we launched the CreativeCashFlow.com, I've had one person ask for a refund because the content at that time, there was no difference in the content from what's on the Propelio Academy, even though the Q&A is here. And then today I actually had 2 people in one day, which I haven't had, again, I've had one person this whole time ask for a refund. And it was also because they were able to see the main module online from Propelio. So here's the deal. I'm gonna just chat for a second, so deal with me. This is, again, part of my agreement to you is that I'm gonna be real at all times and give y'all insights into everything from the investing to me. I'm not trying to fake out or guru out or anything like this. But here's the deal: is like I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy that quit his job and had no history in real estate, no family in real estate. I just did it, and I figured it out, and I spent a ton of time and a ton of money learning how to do this stuff. For what you guys are getting, even for the free stuff that's out there on Propelio Academy, which all of you guys know that's there. What they don't get is a live Q&A every Monday night, which is incredibly valuable. For the stuff that you guys are getting, I literally paid about $1.2 to $1.5 million for that. If you count the deal splits that I gave up, I Actually, I take that back. Probably more. Probably closer to $2 million. Paid about $2 million to garner this knowledge that nobody gives out. And I promise I'm getting somewhere with this because I do want y'all's input here. But I'm just trying to set the stage of what's going on here, right? So you will be very hard pressed to find anybody else that can give this knowledge out or who has been willing to give this out. And I see Mitch Stephen being offered or listed up here. Mitch Stephen is another great option, right? But I appreciate you saying, because it made more sense to us, I feel like I have a good way of getting this information across. I sacrificed a lot of family time, I sacrificed a lot of money, and I'm giving information out that like nobody else A, can give out, or B, will give out, right? So my viewpoint of this, and so I had those two people drop out, and then about an hour later, I had somebody contact me, kind of saying like, look, hey, I'm cool, but like, here's what I'm, here's how I feel. And it was kind of akin. And so like, it's, it's troubling to me, right? And so my standpoint is that I feel like it's priced accordingly. I think $650 is an incredibly good value, even if all that was in there was like, I don't know, very much little more than what was on the Propelio thing. Because to me, if I learned that much, if I learned how to change my life in an investing strategy for free on an online website, and then the guy that taught it wanted to get $600 from me to get a little bit more information out, like that's a cool subsidy. And to me, I'm like, yeah, man, this guy changed my life $600 worth, especially knowing that that guy put, millions of dollars out to learn this information. So there's my baseline, right? The next step of that is that, yes, I do have plans to get more information out to you guys, to get more exclusive information out to you guys. We've got more videos on the negotiating series. I've got contracts that I'm getting built. I've got the more videos on the seller financing module, and a freaking weekly Q&A session that lasts for as long as it needs to last, right? So again, Sonia, thank you. I feel like $650 is a very reasonable price for that. So here's my thing, is that I'm wrong, and I get that, okay? I understand that that's not how some people feel, and I need to understand better how other people feel. So what I'm asking, I guess, is just let me know. And here's the final part that I'll finish up on here, is like when I'm saying like I'm just a guy. Like I'm just a guy. Like I've done a bad job of separating myself, I think, by being super like douchey and show-offy of the things that we have done and continue to do. And so I think that breaks down the barrier of people realizing that like I'm a dude that's like making it happen, right? And I'm trying to show you guys how this stuff works too. And it takes for freaking ever to do this content, and it takes for freaking ever to do to get this information out to people. It takes my entire week, and at the sacrifice of me being able to buy the portfolio that I could have bought without doing this. Now, I'm passionate about this, and this is why I do it. I love training. I love seeing people succeed. I love seeing this information that was previously not out there get out there. And I think, and like I mentioned to the guy that contacted me, it's like, it stinks that I'm in a situation where people are like, well, that information is just public knowledge now. Why would I pay any money for it? And it's like, well, it wouldn't be public knowledge if it wasn't for my having put it out there. Even the people who are teaching this, a lot of them learned it from me. I'm not trying to overstep bounds there. There's a ton of, I'm not the end all be all of seller financing. But I need to know how to better serve you guys, is what I'm basically getting at, right? I really need to know how you guys how you really feel about everything that's going on. And a DM, a private message, is probably the best way to do that. If you want it to be anonymous, you can send it to our chat agent, because names don't show up there, and you can, let me know how you feel. But I think my messaging might need to change. I think people need to understand the value of the Q&A, the value of getting that experience. And again, like, I paid a ton of money for this through partnerships. And that's the other side of things that I have trouble with, is I've never paid for education. I never went down the educator route, so I don't know how gurus do it. And it sucks that I'm sitting in a situation where it's like, had I just done it like a guru and held on to all my information and charged people $9.99 and, you know, $49.99 for this information and not given it away to the public and not tried to help the overall community, I wouldn't be facing this. And instead, I'm left with almost regretting the fact that I've done that, right? And so that's troubling for me. So there's my piece. That's where I'm at, guys. I just want to be very open and honest with you guys. I want to get as much information out there for as many people as possible. And I'm offering you guys a night of my week every night, plus exclusive content, plus pushing further. But I do have to further the brand. I do have to do the things that are getting that brand out there as well as a business person, right? So it's a challenging situation to be in. So I'd love to hear y'all's input on that. I have thick skin. I mean, I say that as I'm sitting here like all beaten down, but we've got a lot of health stuff and other stresses going on right now too. But I need to know, because I want to make this your best purchase ever. I want to make this your best possible solution. So I appreciate the guys that are here, the guys and girls that are here. I appreciate you so much, and I really want your input. That's just something that's on my head today, and I would love to get y'all's feedback. Sonia, thank you for praying for my peace of mind. And yeah, and again, you know, in the grand scheme of things, 3 people asking for a refund on an info marketing thing like this is nothing, right? If you look at the guru numbers, like 3 people asking for a refund is phenomenal for a year and a half being in business. Doesn't mean that I don't start thinking and wondering what I need to do to make it better. So there we go. Jason, thank you for your kind words. And this was also not a way for me to get you guys to kiss up to me and make me feel better. I genuinely need to know where I can get better on things, and that is what that's about. So thank you for your kind words. I really do appreciate it. That's my emo spiel. We will get back into the questions now. All right. Sean and Vicky say, we watched your lesson on principle over interest. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to cut there because I saw Josh pop up. Once a year, every 6-month weekend mastermind would be amazing for us out-of-state folks. That is absolutely something that I have in mind. That I'm working on that too. And again, I want to say, like, I fired people that I care very much about and knew that that was going to make other people leave that I care very much about, so that we could burn it and create the space that's needed to get these things done. So that's on the radar. We're working on that with the mastermind, with the contract. So these are the things that are coming. The mastermind is coming for Creative Cash Flow people. The contracts are coming. That's going to be a long rollout because I've got to pay a lot of money and I've got to do, you know, for really nothing financially in return. It's really a value add more than a reason people are signing up would be the contracts. That'll be a rollout over the next 18 months. I've got more videos that will be exclusive to you guys, but I also have other relationships that I have to foster out. I've got to film some videos for Real Acquisitions. I am heading up the Propelio Academy. I'm the dean of their academy, so I am in charge of the entire academy launch now. And the entirety of all of the educators that will be on the academy are under my belt because, again, we have a passion for getting this information out to people, so that's going to be a crunch on my time. And my relationship with Eddie Speed is growing by the day, and there's going to be a lot of effort spent there. So I just want to be clear with you guys that, like, I'm not just sitting back like Scrooge McDucking and being like, look at all this money I'm making from education. I'm really not. It's passionate for me. There is a lot of money in education. I know that there is. I get that too. But this is a passion project for me, and I'm sacrificing buying the houses that I could be buying to get this out there. I just want you guys to know what is coming because things are coming. But again, I think $650 is a pretty good price for everything that you're getting, especially being a lifetime member of a Q&A for access at the drop of a button click. To like, how often do I ever say I don't have the answer? Like, it happens, but it's not that terribly often. Okay, so that's where we're at. So Josh, good idea. That's in the works. Hopefully we can get a lot of these things going with our new hires. We watched your lesson on principal over interest, and we believe we understand it, i.e. adjust the interest down instead of adjusting the principal to get the payment equivalent to the comped rents. However, We believe that we have also heard you and Mrs. Gerst of Capricorn speak about the importance of higher interest rates when it comes to selling a note. That end of it we understood less. Is there ever a situation where you wouldn't do a deal because you couldn't meet both goals? Apology if this question isn't clear enough. Can elaborate by email another time and expound? No, I think it is clear enough. So here's how I approach that, right? So a note buyer is going to buy, let's look at this way. Let me pull this guy up. Oh no, why is it not showing? Why is it not showing? That's frustrating. Okay, well, maybe I'm not going to be able to show that to you. Huh. Oh, it must have gone to sleep. Here we go. Wait for it. Wait for it. There it is. Okay. So let's look at it like this. A note buyer, okay? Let's see. Let's see what a note buyer would buy your note for. How does a note buyer buy notes? First of all, what is the deciding factor that they are using to purchase notes? Well, we talked about this a little bit last week, and we've talked about this previously in other weeks as well. Note buyers are buying notes based on their yield, right? So what that means is, like, if you look at these things right here, if we have a 30-year note at 9%, it's a $90,000 note, it'd be $724 a month. A note buyer is going to say, I want an 11% yield, let's say. Therefore, I'm willing to spend $76,000 on this note. Okay? Now, that's going to be one part of this we're going to put out. So we're going to say note buyer, we'll say green because that'll be money in. Note buyer says, I will pay $76,000 for a 11 yield. Okay. Now, your original note is $90K at we'll say 9.5%, which means that it's a $756 payment. Okay. Now, that's like kind of our ideal, right? We want that 90,000, 9.5%. That's kind of what we're looking for. But let's say because of your comps, you need this PI payment to be $850, okay? Which means that you can either drop the principal or drop the interest. That means that the rent, if you were to comp the rent, let's say that taxes and insurance, because what makes a payment, right? What makes a payment? A payment is made up of PITI. PITI, right? Taxes, and insurance, principal, and interest. Because I know how to spell. Okay. So we got principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. If this portion right here is, let's say, $200 a month, and your rent comps for this property, let me move myself out of the way. Your rent comps for this property come out to $1,000. That means that you've got $1,000 that you're going to get in PITI, so you're going to back out the $200 for taxes and insurance, and what you're left with is $800 for PI. Everybody follow me there? Okay, so if we look at this situation and we're saying, okay, well, on this deal, we're selling it for $100,000. I'll put these variables out there. And actually here, I'm going to erase this because I'm not even going to pay attention to what we wanted because we're not going to get it. What I am going to pay attention to is it's a $100,000 house, $10,000 down, and that means that we need to hit a $800 a month principal and interest payment. Okay? So, if we need to get to that $800 $800 a month principal payment, principal and interest, we can do that in one of two ways. Now, we've got a $90,000 down, or a $90,000 loan in theory, right? Because if we were going to sell it for 100, get 10 down, we would have a $90,000 note. We want to look for 9.5%, but guess what? Oh, dang it. I'm an idiot. Let's change something here. Let's say that our rent comp was $800. I don't math good. It's only that my business is entirely dealing with numbers. Don't mind me. So we're going to say that the rent comp was $800, which means that we need our PI to be $600. Sorry, I hope you guys follow me on that. If you don't, just chime in. I'll take a look there. Oops. Okay, so we need our PI to be $600, even though we would want it to be $756. So there's two ways that we can get a $600 payment. We can do $600 payment, which would mean that our interest rate would be 7, basically. Okay, so option one is 100 sales, 10 down payment, 600 a month PI, which means that we're at a 7% loan, and 90 or 7. Hold on, let me do it this way. A $90,000 loan at 7%. Okay. Option two would be we fight for that 9.5% interest, which means that we can only have a $71,000 loan, which means that we would sell the house for about 80, because we're going to ask for a 10% down payment, or a 10% down payment. So option two, let me make what's another obvious color? Here we go. Option two would be an $80,000 sales price with 10 down payment, and it would be a 72K loan at 9.5%. Okay. Now, our payment is $600. So I'm going to change what our note buyer is going to buy it for, because our note buyer is going to look at this and say, look, I am facing a note that has a, dang it, I was like looking at my pen trying to get this right and I still didn't. I've got a 30-year note, 30 years worth of payments left. Okay. I want an 11% yield. I'm getting $600 a month, because that's not going to change, right? The amount of months that it's paying, or the amount per month, the PI is not going to change, and the amount of months is not going to change. So for the next 30 years, we're going to get $600 a month. In order for that to mean that I'm getting an 11% yield, that means I will buy this note at $63,000. Okay? You guys follow me there? So here's what we're looking at here. This note buyer, to get an 11% yield on $600 a month for the next 30 years, will pay $63,000. In that case, it does not matter if you did option one or option two. Oops. It does not matter if you took option one, which was 100 with 10% down. Okay. You're still getting an offer of 63. Maybe I can do it like this. I might not be able to get fully out of the way. Doesn't matter if you have this option, they're still going to give you 63. Doesn't matter if you have this option, they're still going to give you 63. They're looking for what that monthly PI, in this case $600, over how many months, in this case 30 years, is going to get them the yield they are requiring. They do not care how much principal you have. It just means that if you took option one, you're going to be selling your note at a larger discount than if you took option two. But that's just a number, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You're getting $63,000 on this offer if they want 11. The reason why we choose principal over interest is because in that case, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have a higher or lower interest rate. You're taking a larger discount over here, but you're still getting the same offer. What does matter is if this person right here refinanced or sold their house, you would get a check in the mail for $90,000. If this person refinanced or sold their house, the most you could ever get from them was was $72,000, because that's what their loan amount was. So ultimately, if you look at the two options, let's do those two options right here. We did a 7% interest rate that got us, 72. $72,000 at $72,000 at 9.5% was $600. Let me get us more accurate here. Or you know what I should do more accurately. Okay, so if this were to pay out over the entirety of the loan, that whole 30 years, what would you get? Well, you would get $216,000 right above my head here. Total paid, right? Total paid, $216,000. You want to guess how much you would get if you reduced your interest but kept your principal and held it for the long term. You want to guess how much you would get over the long term if it paid out the entire time? Guess what? $216,000. Either option here means that over the long haul, you're going to get the same amount. The only difference is how much of that amount is considered interest and how much of that amount is considered principal. And in one of these options, you get paid more in your possible payoff events like a refi or a sale of their home than the other one. So some people will get stuck on, well, I really need that 9.5%, but in the long run, it doesn't matter because one, you're getting a $63,000 offer regardless of which one of these you choose. Two, if your seller pays off their loan, your buyer pays off their loan, you're getting paid not based off of the interest you could have made over the next 30 years, but based off of the principal they still owe you. Therefore, this one is your better option. Now, the caveat that I have to that is that Mitch Stephen, his bank that does hypothecation, note collateral lending, you'll hear it as collateral assignments, goes by many names. It's like Game of Thrones. Oh, where is that guy? The guy with many faces? The guy with no face? He hasn't shown up yet. Is he dead? I don't know. Anyway, no spoilers if you know anything that's happening in the future. Anyway, Mitch's bank wants a lower LTV and a higher interest rate in order to do the hypothecation. Therefore, that is the only situation where option 2 is superior because you have a lower LTV, 72 on a $100,000 house, because we're assuming the house is worth 100. So now you've got a 72% LTV and a higher interest rate, which makes this bank happy, but they're lending to him based on that number, which is still lower than this number. I'm just saying that's the one caveat where I think that it's okay to go with the interest over principal. Okay, I'm going to look through a couple of these comments here just to see Michael. To be honest, I almost asked for a refund, but I see the future of what you're bringing to the, plus the lifetime membership seems worth it in the end. I agree, and I'm glad you do too. Lots of people being very nice. Thank you very much. And let me see if there's anything else that I need to, the freaking weekly. That needs, yeah, that's going to be the new Q&A. Join in the freaking weekly. Really, I just wanted to stroke my ego a little bit by reading these. Brady says, is it possible you're overthinking the content production piece? It's been said, perfect is the enemy of done. Yeah, absolutely. No, it is. I'm done with the content production piece. That was just one of my, that's one of my separators. I think you should have three uniques. One of my uniques is the 4K multicam, nice production value, but that's all done. That didn't take me that terribly long. Cool. All right. So I think that we are ready. Yeah, looking forward to the contracts. Me too. I'm looking forward to getting that done. Andrew says you're restricted from giving your contracts, and no, I'm not restricted from giving my contracts. I don't have any contracts. I use an attorney's contracts, and he does not like them to be given out. So I am paying an exorbitant amount of money to another attorney whom I trust and is incredible. It's Matt Aycock, who I've bragged on for many years here, and he's writing us white label contracts that I can give to you guys. So that's kind of where it is. Cue the Stonehenge music. Yes. Another reference I get. All right, and Homero says, I guess eventually we'll have an exclusive discount for Eddie Speed's night school. Maybe. Yeah, stuff like that is in the works. Eddie bragged on you since about you at the last Node Expo. That's awesome. I already knew you offered the product he needed for his shift to teaching to creative financing. And that's right, Brady actually has brought this up before he was really pushing hard into that, so that's cool. Yeah, Eddie's a good guy. He's brilliant. Michael took it. Why don't you create a third lien with no payments requirements so I don't give away the equity over the underlying lien and keep the interest high? That's a creative way to do it. It's a good way to do it. Yeah, and your note buyer probably won't mind that either. So that's actually a very good solution. Good job, Brady. Low interest rate helps the end buyer feel like they're not getting screwed. Yes. All right. So, and Sonia, yes, I'm actually going out to Arizona in a couple of weeks to interview with Steve Train. All right, so here is another very in-depth question. So we just got out of one in-depth question. Y'all ready for another one? These are good questions. I'm glad you're asking these. Oh, man, I screwed my finger up earlier. I was getting in the car and I had a bag of food and I like slammed the door on it. It sucked. All right, how are you approaching, how are you approaching, that's a burp, sorry. How are you approaching adjustable rate mortgages when buying sub 2? Couple things you need to know in an adjustable rate mortgage. So, here's some terms. Dang, Matt, check you out. That is a PRS. Can you see the headstock in these camera angles? This is my pride and joy. She's my pride and joy. She's my sweet little baby. Oh, wait, what is it? I can't do it. I don't know, pride and joy. Anyway, yeah, PRS. Ooh, that's her. She's so pretty. That was my dream guitar. I got to have her a little while ago. But I usually have her hanging in my office, and I went in my office the other day and I saw the guitar thing, like the hanger, like the wall was like kind of coming out, and I was like, ooh, that's a really expensive guitar to be coming out like that. I need to fix that. All right, back to the topic, sorry. So the adjustable rate mortgages, this is what you need to know. It's gonna really bug me that I couldn't pull out Pride and Joy right there. Like, I know I can play that song, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Oh, I know what I was doing wrong. I was playing A instead of E. Anyway, okay. All right, so there's some terms you need to know. One term you need to know is the, well, how deep do I want to get into this? Gosh, okay. I'm just going to explain y'all how adjustable rates work. Y'all ready? Because here we go. All right, so when you are doing an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, there are several terms that go into deciding how that ARM works. One term is the index. The index is the, we'll call it baseline, okay? You guys are familiar with hearing about the LIBOR, which I think I heard is going away or has gone away, and the Wall Street Prime, which is really popular. Those are indexes. Much like the Wall Street 500 is an index. Wall Street 500? What is that called? Index. No, what? Indy 500? Not Indy. I'm tired, guys. Oh, pray for me and my mom. What is it? The top 100, the top 500, S&P 500. That is an index. So that means that it is one number that represents a lot of other numbers. That one index fund in the stock market, the S&P 500, is reflecting the health of the top 500 companies. The 500 companies with the largest cap, I believe, is what it is in the stock market. Similarly, the index that you are probably familiar with hearing is the Wall Street Prime, which is a number that reflects the interest rates across the country. The index that we are familiar with, that we use, is called the APOR, the average prime offer rate. And I'm gonna encourage you guys to use that one. I'm gonna put this as a little asterisk note. I'm gonna put APOR, because that's what we're gonna use when we sell our property. But you can really use anything. Okay, so the index is saying there's this one number, so like the APOR, every Tuesday it comes out and it tells you the average of every state's best credit borrowers. What was their interest rate that they were getting for their mortgage? So like it takes Texas and it says, what was the A+ credit borrower getting in Texas? It takes Louisiana, what was the A+ credit borrower in Louisiana getting? And it averages all of those numbers. And it releases every Tuesday. That is an index. It is one number that reflects many, okay? So Wall Street Prime is one that you're familiar with here. Seeing Prime, LIBOR are two of the most popular. I'm gonna put Prime and LIBOR. Those are two of the most popular that you're gonna see in a conventional mortgage. Then there's another thing called a margin. The margin means what number are we going to add to the index to arrive at whatever your interest rate will be, okay? So the margin is the, let's say, profit, or I don't know if this is, I think this is still used in the right context here by saying arbitrage. If we say the index this week is 4% and your interest rate is going to be index plus 3 will be what your interest rate is, what your note rate is. That's saying margin, I'm sorry, index plus margin equals your note rate, or prime plus 3 is your note, right? That might be a phrase that you're used to hearing. It's like prime plus 3, prime plus 1, something like that. It's saying we're going to take whatever the prime rate is, add this number to it, and that's going to be your note rate, okay? I think that one's fairly... C, note rate. So the note rate is going to be something like, well, actually here I can do it like this and make it maybe make a little bit more sense. So the note rate is going to be something like this, prime plus 3, or margin, gosh darn it, or index plus margin. Okay, so that's your basic crash course in an ARM. Now, what are the things that are most important to you when you're talking about subject to on this? Well, one of them would be, you need to know what the adjustment cap is, both the lifetime and, gosh, what do they call it? Periodic. So what that means is, in the adjustable rate, we have an index and a margin. So let's say that we say, you know, right now the prime is 4, and we're going to add 3 to it, and that will be your note rate. So your note rate is prime plus 3, and your initial rate is 7. Now, in 3 years, and I'm going to try not to get too far deep into this, in 3 years, you're going to see your first adjustment. That adjustment may not adjust your rate more than 2%. Okay? So you have, let's say, a periodic cap of, let's say, 2%. That means if your interest rate now is 7, each time it adjusts, it can only adjust by a maximum of 2%. So if right now the prime is 4 plus 3 gets you to 7, and then we get up to 3 years from now and the prime rate is 8, which would mean that 8 plus 3 is 11, so you should be getting an 11% interest rate. The most you're going to get is 9, because your initial rate was 7, and each time it adjusts, it can only adjust by 2%. Okay? So that's one important part. The other important part is the lifetime cap. They're going to say that over the lifetime of this loan, it may never adjust more than, let's say, 6%. So your initial note is for 7%. So at no point can your note be more than 13%. That's the lifetime cap, okay? The lifetime cap is incredibly important to doing a subject to of a adjustable rate mortgage, because you need to know what their initial rate was, what the lifetime cap is, and we will get even more complicated because there's, well, let me just get the easy part out of the way. So let's say that your initial rate, let's take an example loan, an example ARM, which is we've got a $90,000 lien at prime plus 3, which we're going to say is 4, and that makes your note rate 7%. Okay, and let's say we're doing a 30-year. So that means that initially your note is going to be $90,000 at 7%, which is $598 a month. The brute force answer to this is that your payment will never be more than that 7 plus what we said our lifetime cap was 6, so that would mean 13% would be your cap. The brute force answer is your payment will never be more than $995. Okay, I'm going to dive into that a little bit more deeply here in a second, but that means that if the lifetime cap is 6%, that means that your payment will always be under $995? Okay, that's the brute force answer. So the principle here is you need to know your lifetime cap, and you need to make sure that if you hit that cap, you will still make money on your deal, okay? So the way that I handle that, because I do not like doing a adjustable rate with my buyers, I want to do fixed rates with my buyers. I make sure that when I'm buying a house that has an adjustable rate on it, which I only have a couple, that my payment will always be profiting me money, even if we hit the lifetime cap on the underlying lien. I may take less of a profit, but I will still profit. So my minimum might be like a $1050 payment, PI, on this deal to make sure that we're still making money even if we hit their lifetime cap. Now, why did I say that that's a brute forced answer? Okay, why did I say that? Because here's the thing. Hopefully, okay, so if you understand to that point, say, I understand to that point. Give me a comment on there, because we've got a long delay here, so when y'all comment, I'm not exactly sure. I've got about a 20-second delay so that I can do the 4K stream. So if you understand to that point, please tell me. If you don't, please tell me. So the reason why I say that it's brute forced is the way that adjustable rate mortgages work is that they say you're going to have a 3-1 ARM, which is going to look something like this. You've got a 3-1 ARM. And what that means is that your first adjustment will not happen for 3 years, and then it's going to happen every 1 year after that. Okay? So what that means is if we're really going to look at what the biggest payment could possibly be on this loan, then we need to see some interesting stuff. What we need to do is we need to start with 7, okay, which means that the payment's $598. And then we're going to look 3 years down the line. So payment 36 has a principal balance of $87,054. So at payment 36 is the first time that your interest rate can adjust. So we need to find what the principal would be at 36, which is $87,000, not $90,000. And then we need to say, what is the most that that could adjust to? It would be 9%. Because that's a 2% per adjustment cap, periodic cap. You follow me? So we can only go up to 9%, but our principal payment, our principal balance will be lower. Therefore, our new principal payment would be $700, not $995. But then it can adjust every year after that, right? So we're going to look, and 12 months in, our new balance is going to be $86,400. So I'm going to say $86,400, and I'm going to go up to 11, because 9 plus 2 is 11. These go to 11. which means that our payment would now be $822. And then I'm going to go up one more time to a year from then, which is $86,000. And we're going to go to 13. This hits our lifetime cap. Remember, 7 plus 6 would be 13. This is our lifetime cap. So therefore, our full payment is not that much different in this case, $951. Okay, so the brute force is typically going to get you a good general look, but it just so happens that the numbers that I chose, my lifetime cap being 6, my per adjustment cap being 2, and my principal balance and all that kind of stuff, the numbers that I chose just so coincidentally happen to say that our cap is pretty much within $5 within what it would have been if we brute forced it, but that will not always be the case. Sometimes it will be much different. So if you really want to find it out, you look at it that way. So that is how you're going to sub to it, is you need to, when you're sub toing it, you have to get a copy of their note so that you know exactly what the terms of the adjustments are, what the lifetime cap is, and what the margin is. And then you just make sure that whatever their cap is, if you want to offer a fixed rate to your buyer, you need to make sure that whatever your lifetime cap payment would be on the underlying lien, that you're still going to profit to that buyer. So as this goes up, your underlying lien goes up, you'll be making less and less, but your buyer is more likely to buy that house with a fixed rate. Now, the other option that you have is to pass on the same exact terms to your buyer as your seller has. Except this time you're going to say, okay, so they are prime plus 3, therefore, buyer, you're going to be prime plus 6. And you just adjust, if your underlying lien adjusts, you just adjust with them. Okay? And that will ensure that you're always getting the same amount of cash flow, but it makes that note less desirable, not only to note buyers, but to the home buyer themselves. So really good question, very in-depth question there. I hope you guys understood that. Looks like I got some got it's. Cool. What am I doing? Oh yeah. Is a note and deed of trust better than, say, a contract for deed when it comes to default, foreclosure process, and selling the note? It looks like Brady already answered that with the right answer, which is it depends on your state. If you can do contract for deed, do it. It's easier to foreclose. Texas, we're just not able to do that. Why don't you create a third lien? Oh, we got that. Yeah, that was a good idea, Brady. I like having you around. And Brady, I want to give Brady another public round of applause. Brady is such an excellent example of how to give back to the community. And I hope that you guys are helping Brady out too in whatever way that Brady needs help. I hope that you are jumping at the opportunity to work with him in whatever way, because he's done so much to help this community in a thankless way. Constantly looking out on the Creative Cash Flow Mentors Facebook page, which if you haven't joined, CCF Mentors, you need to join. He's always participating in there. He's always ready to help, ready to give information. He's a sharp dude. So thank you, Brady. I want to, as publicly as I can, thank you for that. And then tell everybody else, find your opportunities to work with him. Oh, that's awesome, Kelly. Watching from a cell phone tonight. Sorry. Well, fortunately on YouTube, you can lower the resolution so you're not streaming 4K. At baseball practice and couldn't comment live. I grabbed a fix and flip deal at 97, putting 50 in it, and ARV suddenly dropped from 180 to 165. Ooh. Considering the house will be in great shape when I'm done as far as the major items, nice finishes, and my gross margin could go to 0 if I list and sell traditionally at currently the 165 comp. At the 165 comp, including all buy-sell costs, what other alternative exit strategies would you consider? So I would be, it's very rare for a $15,000 hit to occur during your rehab period. So I suffer from taking way too long on my rehabs. I would argue that perhaps you suffer from taking too long on your rehabs if you've seen a $15,000 hit in this last however long it's taken you to get the rehab. Regardless, that's not the issue. The issue is now you're at a house that's only worth 165 and you kind of need 180 for it to make sense. If it's a nice finish out, try and list it owner financed at that 180 and see what kind of interest you get from people on it. But unfortunately, you might be stuck with a bag here. You can rent it if you'd like to see if the property values will come back in the future, they possibly will, and you'll get some tax benefits from doing it that way too. But the retail sale looks like it's pretty much out of the story unless you just want to cut your losses. So it really would just be listing it at over the ARV with a really nice finish out and hoping that somebody buys it with the owner financing side. How does it work when the mortgage company goes bankrupt? I really don't know. I really don't know, Sonia. I'm not sure. I had a similar question pop up. Where was I? Oh, it was in that meeting with all the big to-do important people of the state, the commissioner and the senator and the general counsels and stuff like that. And what practically what we've seen like in the in our space is that if somebody gets bankrupted or out of business, like their notes get bought just at a discount. So somebody else picks those up, and the mortgage holder is still responsible for paying their mortgage is going to be paid to somebody else. But I don't know like what the legal ramifications of that are. It's an interesting thought experiment there. All right, any experience with a seller where the heir is a minor and needs to have a guardian assigned? Yes. Property is in foreclosure and seemed like if I reinstate having the heirs, excuse me while I die. Having the heir stuff may take forever. Let me give you guys a number. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Homer's here. Oh, gosh, what is her name? I have an excellent, Rebecca Brooker. Excellent probate attorney. Let me put this on the screen for you guys. Her name is Rebecca. I was watching John Mulaney stand up the other day, and he was like, why is it in the Bible all the guys have these like crazy names and their wives are all something super normal, like, and thus was Jebediah Asbestos III and his wife Sarah. Here's Rebecca. Her number, I'm not going to give out her cell phone number, but her work number is 706-4227. She, just tell her I sent you, is an incredible probate attorney who can help you with that kind of stuff. I ran into an issue where, let me put this probate. This was I love this house because it's been a great example for me with like so many different things. The house that I did that title walkthrough on in the academy is, don't die, amigos. The person that I did that happened. So I was talking to the daughter, but the dad, the stepdad who died, left the house to the grandson who was a minor. And we went through the whole probate process, and because Rebecca was so good at what she did, we did not have to assign a what are they called? Not supervisor, but you know what I'm talking about. Well, actually, you said it. Whatever you said, the word was right. Well, I don't know. Oh, here it is. Guardian, that's right. We did not have to assign a guardian because she showed us what we needed to do to look as good as possible for the judge, and we didn't have to go through all of that. So I was able to buy the house from the son, like, immediately there, and then get powers of attorney from, because the mom was able to, so I take that back even. It was stepdad died, left it to great grandson. So it was the stepdaughter that I was dealing with, it was her son's son that got everything left to him. But talk to Rebecca, she's very good. Just tell her I sent you. All right, I believe that's it. All right, and that works out about right. We're 8:15. We're about time to wrap up. So guys, again, I'm sorry for being emo on you, but I do want to improve. I really want to improve. A good leader and a good business does not, it fails from lack of desire to improve. And I have seen my own failures from my own hubris. That's one of the things I have to deal with, and I don't want that to get in the way of the success of you guys. And y'all's success is my success, and so I need to hear feedback from you guys. Again, just know that I'm working things in the background, but also just know that I'm not just sitting here like, yes, I went on a 2-week long vacation to Japan where I got this shirt. and I loved it, but that's not, I'm working long hours. I'm busting my ass up here to get this education stuff going in the right venues and the right avenues for everybody, and making sure that the proper information is done, is spit out, while defending our rights in the nation's capital, which we're going to DC next week, and defending our rights in the state capital, which took like 6 trips down to Austin. So just please understand, I am not trying to Scrooge McDuck you. I'm not just like laughing back here like, ah ha ha, this content is free. Like, it's not. The weekly Q&A is not free, and what we're putting out there in the future is not free. So I do want y'all's feedback. Just DM me on that. Find someplace, either email, through the chat, Facebook, whatever that might be. Love to hear from you guys. And yeah, I really enjoy chatting with y'all. So that being said, I'm going to drop off. Love you all. I will see you later.